Hi, my name is Steve Wohlberg. As we all know, our health is very important. We need to put nutrition in our bodies, especially in the time of this coronavirus pandemic when people are getting sick and some are dying and people are very concerned about their health. And we all know also that one of the best things that we can do for our health is to have our own garden, to grow a garden, to eat fresh vegetables that are non-GMO, no spray, organic, no chemicals. But the problem is a lot of people don't have land. They don't have a garden. They don't have a green thumb. They don't have time to pick weeds. So what can you do? Well, there is an answer to that, and that is you can grow your own indoor garden. Which is called sprouting seeds and growing sprouts and microgreens. And I actually teach a course on how to do this. I've got all kinds of greens growing right now. Outside it's raining, it's winter where I live. My garden is under snow, but I've got lots of fresh veggies. I've got sunflowers, microgreens growing, and there's alfalfa, and this is buckwheat, and this is nasturtium, a very spicy microgreen. Here's a tray of beets. I've got a bag here of mung that took me 2 days to grow. Here's nasturtium. I'm sorry, this is not nasturtium, this is flava bean. It's a new seed that I'm going to grow. And then I've got a jar here, or a container here, a glass here, container of wheat seeds that are going to become wheatgrass. And I'm just growing all kinds of things. I like doing this. Here's black soybeans that I've sprouted. And I've got yellow soybeans I'm getting ready to sprout, peas. And anyway, I've been sprouting for about 40 years, and I teach a whole course teaching people how to do this. They can do just a little bit in a jar, or they can use a small tray or a bigger tray. And I'd be happy to teach you how to do this so you can pump your body with nutrition, build up your immune system, strengthen every cell in your body so you can live a healthier, happier life. If you want to learn more about how to do this, just check out our website. We have a link down below this video, so just click. You'll learn a lot, and you can check it out, and hopefully this is something that you'll be doing in your kitchen soon. So be healthy, be happy, and thanks for watching.
It's time for another episode of the Shaun Tabatt Show, a podcast where I connect you with thought leaders from across the globe, digging into some of my favorite topics like personal development, marketing, spirituality, and pretty much any other shiny object that happens to catch my attention. Today, my special guest is my friend Steve Wohlberg, and we're going to be discussing a brand new course he has that is called Sprouting with Steve. Steve, I always look forward to our talks together. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Shaun. I look forward to being with you too. And as we both know, our country is in a crisis these days, and really so are people's health. Health is in crisis. So this topic is not unrelated to what's going on in the world, because if we're not healthy and if we die, then we're out of here. So we need to take care of ourselves. So this is important too.
Yeah, I think, on the one hand, we just crossed into 2021. So often in the new year, people are thinking about New Year's resolutions, changing their health, exercising more, creating better habits. I think another thing that's really shifted throughout 2020 is a lot of people have been more sedentary. They've been locked in their homes, and they might not have as easy of access sometimes to healthy food or fresh foods, especially if there's a bit of limitation in what's available at the store. So something like sprouting and growing your own greens could really revolutionize what somebody might have available in their area or right within their own home. But before we get into the course that we're going to talk about, Steve, I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey with sprouting. Why did you get into it? What resources did you use to feel like? How did you figure it out, and why did it become an important part of your health journey?
Yeah, well, I think I fell into this by chance, really, although I think God's providence was involved. But I started sprouting when I was a teenager years ago, as I grew up in the Hollywood Hills. I wasn't a Christian. I was surrounded by the entertainment industry and all the temptations of the world. And I got sucked into a wild life, a crazy life, an unhealthy life. And somewhere in the midst of all of this, I started becoming interested in taking care of myself. In spite of using drugs, I still wanted to be healthy, maybe to offset, the bad things that I was doing. So I started learning and reading books about health, and I discovered sprouting. And I was probably 17 or 18 years old, and I was living in Studio City with my dad. And I just, I had a bag of marijuana in one hand and I started growing sprouts in the other hand. And it just, something that I just got into. And I became a Christian when I was 20 years old. And I gave up the drugs and the alcohol and the wildlife and the parties and the discos and all of that. But I kept sprouting because I knew that this is so good for me. It's good for my body. And by that time, I learned what to do. And so it's been over 40 years. And I've been through a lot of ups and downs in my life. I've been through quite a few crises, and I've weathered them. And I think that the fact that I try to take care of myself and I eat a lot of live food, that this has helped my body to weather these storms. I really believe that. And now I'm pushing 62, and I still I run. I like to jog. I'm a runner. Even up here in North Idaho, in the middle of winter, I've got my cleated running shoes, and I'm out running in the snow, and I love it. And so I just and I'm sprouting a lot, as you saw from that video that we just did just a few days ago. I've turned the kitchen in our office into a living garden, and I'm into it. I know it's good for me. It's great.
Well, if somebody comes to you, Steve, and says, "Well, can you give me some of the key benefits or key reasons I should get into sprouting?" You've shared a couple, but one thing that comes to mind is there may be a difference between the vegetables and the greens I have access to at the grocery store versus what I can actually grow in my own home. So, tell us a little bit of difference of the quality there, and then what are some of the other benefits that people should think about?
Sure, yeah, and it's basic science and physiology and nutritional science that our bodies are made up of trillions of cells, and all of these cells need nutrition. Our body has requirements in order to function optimally. Uh, when you look at the food supply today, a lot of it is grown. Well, first of all, a lot of it's not even food; it's just merchandise, junk food. People eat a lot of junk food generally, and then if you go to even to the market, to the produce section, and if you buy fresh produce, a lot of that produce has been grown on soil that is nutrient deficient. A lot of chemicals are used, sprays, pesticides, and then there's the transit time from the harvest to the market. And by the time you actually eat the food, a lot of times, it's pretty bland. A lot of the nutrition's gone, or it's got a lot of chemicals in it. I think organic is definitely better if people can afford buying organic food. But the thing about growing sprouts and microgreens is that first of all, there's no transit time. You just, cut the greens and put them right in your salad. They're extremely high in nutrition. There's no pesticides, no chemicals. You grow them yourself. They're not GMO, and they're organic. And once people learn how to do this on a regular basis, they are putting more nutrition into their bodies than they realize. It's just amazing when people research this, that when you put a seed in water and it begins to grow, become active, and germinate and start to sprout, it becomes like a little factory. And the nutrients and the vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals and all these different chemicals that God put in the seed, they just multiply dramatically. And you can grow a sprout or even a microgreen without any dirt, without any added nutrition. All the nutrition is in the seed that is growing, and so you're getting just about the purest form of easily digestible, high quality vitamins, minerals, proteins, essential fatty acids. All these things are just crammed into the seed and into the sprout and into the microgreen, which is a little bit bigger than a sprout. And when you start eating these on a regular basis, you're just getting a lot of nutrition. Researchers have looked at the whole process from the seed to the sprout to the microgreen and then the baby plant, and finally in the garden you've got the full plant. And they've discovered that the peak nutrition of this process is the microgreen stage. So if you take a pound of broccoli sprouts or microgreens and compare that to a pound of broccoli, like a broccoli head that you pick in the garden, there is a lot more nutrition in that pound of broccoli microgreens. And the science is there. This is not a gimmick. This is not, something that's disputed. Anybody who does any research on the health benefits of sprouts and microgreens, the evidence is there that you are pumping your body with nutrition. It's very good for you.
And in terms of people, giving you reasons why, oh, it's just not for me, or it's too complicated, or I don't know where to start. Like, what are some of the objections? Why do people initially think sprouting isn't something they could do?
Yeah, I have a document called My 10 Top Reasons to Sprout, and I have another one called 8 Reasons Why People Don't Sprout. And one reason is people think, well, first of all, they don't know what to do. And so they never take the plunge because they think it's too hard. In my course, I teach people a lot of different things, and here I've got a little jar here, and you can grow. And these are what's left of my mung sprouts that I grew, and you can grow mung sprouts in a jar, and it takes about 2 days, and it takes about 2 minutes to do it. You just fill up the jar with some seeds, fill it up with water. Overnight, you soak it overnight. In the morning, you pour out the water, and then you rinse it twice a day, just in the jar. And then within 2 or 3 days, the sprouts will grow right up, and you can put them right in your salad. So when people say, "Well, I don't know what to do," that's one big excuse. It's simple once you learn how to do it. Another thing is people say, "Well, I don't have time to do this," and then the answer is, "Well, it doesn't take much time if you know what to do." Some people say, "Well, they're not going to taste good." And that's not true. A lot of sprouts taste really good. And when you add them to a salad and mix them in with avocado and lemon and whatever seasoning you use on a salad dressing, it tastes just great. And a lot of people think, well, gardening is too difficult for me. I don't have land. I don't have a green thumb. I don't have time to pick weeds. All that is solved by learning how to grow sprouts and microgreens in your house. So, and some people say, well, it's too expensive. No, it's not. You can go to a market and you can buy a small bag of lentils for about $1. And you can you can fill this jar up with lentils, soak it with water up here overnight. The lentils will double in size just overnight. And then you pour out the water and you rinse them 2 or 3 times a day. And before you know it, you got a whole jar full of lentil sprouts. Really easy to do, loaded with nutrients. And if people just, knew what to do and knew how good it is for their health, more people would be doing this.
Well, in terms of like space, like, people live in all sorts of situations, from they have thousands of square feet to they have tiny apartments. How little space do you need to begin sprouting in your, you said you have a space set up in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's where we did that video that you just watched. In my course, Sprouting with Steve, I give people options. So, like the first option, like I said, is just the jar. You can put a jar on your countertop, you can put it on your windowsill, you can stick it under your sink, you can put it in your cabinet. You don't need that much space to grow sprouts in a jar. Now, then we also have another option where I teach people how to grow them in these little white trays. They've got holes on the bottom. You put the seeds in, you water them from the top, and you can actually stack these up on a windowsill. So not much room. You can have alfalfa growing here, broccoli growing here, clover growing here. You can alternate them. You can have peas growing here, have a little stack, and every few days start a new seed. And so you've got sprouts all the time. If you have a little more room, you can grow something like this. This is the beets that I showed in that video. This tray is not quite ready to eat yet. I think I'll wait a little bit longer, but these are microgreens, and they're very tasty and they're very healthy. And then here's this bigger tray that I showed also. I brought this down from my kitchen. These are my sunflower greens. And to me, this is the king of microgreens. My kids love eating these. Teenagers like to eat these. They taste really good. So as far as space goes, it really, there's all kinds of options. Some people have little apartments. They don't have much space, so they can use the jars and they can use these little trays. Other people have more room, or they can create a rack. Some people create a small greenhouse and they can use the bigger trays. And it's all really depends upon, what people can do. Or maybe let's say you're married and your spouse really doesn't want a lot of greens on your kitchen table. So you can grow these you can actually put a jar like this under your sink in your bathroom. You don't even need any light to grow mung or lentils. There's peas, all kinds of things you can grow in just a simple jar. Very easy. I sometimes grow them in my laundry room on top of the sink that my wife uses when she, does the laundry. And it's simple. So you just have to learn what to do. And depending upon your space availability, you can go from there.
And I'm assuming, depending on the types of seeds that you're sprouting, there's going to be some variation in growth time. But what's the overall kind of average amount of time from, you know, planting or starting a seed, so to speak, to you've got some greens that are ready to eat?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, with something like this, with mung or lentils, it takes maybe 2 to 3 days. Sunflower seeds, without the shells, same thing. There's all kinds of things you can grow just in jars. For a big tray of like the sunflower greens that I just showed you, that could take about a week and a half. The beets, I think they take a little bit longer. Some seeds grow slower, some fast. There's some microgreens like radish, take about a week. There's all kinds of radishes, purple Rambo radish, different kinds of radish. I typically don't like radishes in my garden, but I really like radish microgreens. Alfalfa takes maybe 6 days. Broccoli, maybe 5 days in a jar. So it's, there's a lot of different variety depending upon the seed and how you grow it. In my course, I teach people how to do just the sprouts where they're small, and then we also have a whole section on growing the microgreens, which is where they're a little bit bigger in soil. We have a whole in soil section, and then we have a third section on how to grow microgreens just with water, without any soil. So a lot of options, just like with gardening or with an orchard or with anything. There's plenty of options, and once people learn what to do, then they experiment and they go from there.
And in terms of what you cover in the course, do you also tell people where they can get the trays, the jars, all the tools and resources they're going to need to be successful at sprouting?
Yes. The beauty about Sprouting with Steve, the course, is that I take people by the hand and I walk them right through with all these videos so they can actually watch me grow them. And then I direct them to one place where they can get all their seeds and all their supplies. So there's free shipping from this company, great company in Utah. They have fabulous seeds. And if people order more than $45 worth of products, then there's free shipping. So I've been getting a lot of seeds from this company, True Leaf Market, great people. And so, yeah, the course really is designed to be a one-stop place where people can have me take them by the hand, walk them right through it. We guarantee it. So there's like a money back guarantee if they don't like it. And we're just so confident, that this works. We have a lot of people that have joined. People have given us their testimonials. We have a Facebook group where people are, showing pictures of their sprouts and asking questions. And it's just, it's a lot of fun. And seriously, as we get older, we all know that we need to take care of our bodies because, cancer and heart disease, and diabetes, the coronavirus, and all these things that are trying to get us, we can live longer and save ourselves suffering if we take care of ourselves. And I'm just convinced, my conscience, I just know inside me that sprouting is really, really good for our bodies. I know it. I feel it. I feel good. And I want to share this information with others.
Well, and Steve, you've given us some of the feedback and how this has really changed your life. I'd be curious to hear one or two testimonials from some of the customers, people who've already taken the course and gotten started with Sprouted. How has it impacted their lives?
Yeah, there's one lady, Joella, and she recorded a 4-minute testimony for us, and we put it on our website. And she describes how she opens up in the kitchen. Her husband's got the camera, their little smartphone, and in her kitchen, she's got all these different things that she's growing. And then she says this was inspired by sproutingwithsteve.com. And then she goes outside and she shows where her husband built her this little greenhouse, and she's got all these trays, and you see everything growing. And I watched that and I just thought, wow, isn't that, look what this has started. And other people, there's a lady in Texas named Christy. She has a video that she sent us with her and her son growing a 5-part salad mix, and how her son he's a little boy and he's just picking the greens. Another young man named Jaime, he's our producer here at Whitehorse Media. He did a video and he has pictures on our website of his kids picking the peas. And so we're getting a lot of testimonies from people that appreciate this. And let me just share a Bible verse with you. I know that you're a Christian and I am too, and your group is we believe in the book. We believe in God's word. And recently I've just been thinking about this verse in Genesis 2, verse 8, that says, the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. So originally God's the great gardener. He planted a garden and he put Adam in the garden. And then verse 15 says, the Lord God took the man, put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And I was just thinking about this, and it tells us that God's plan for man is that he work with plants, that he cultivate the soil, that he learn all kinds of spiritual lessons. Jesus taught about seeds and plants and harvests, and Jesus was very in tune with nature. And it's a blessing to work with plants. It really is. And especially the nutrients that we get that help our bodies work better. I see it as, part of my Christian life. It's part of my life with God to learn how to do this. And I love it. And I think it's just a big blessing to people.
Well, taking care of our bodies is certainly one of the ways that we can steward the creation that God has allowed us to be a part of. We're honored to have Sprouting with Steve on Destiny Image TV. And so I'll be sure to include links to where you can find that on our channel. But Steve, in terms of people connecting with you, finding out more about Sprouting with Steve, the course, I think you have another book related to sprouting. Or some of the places we can connect with you on the web.
Yeah, I have a little book called Sprout Power, which is easily available on Amazon.com. It's also available from Whitehorse Media on whitehorsemedia.com. My main website for the sprouting course is sproutingwithsteve.com, sproutingwithsteve.com. And as you mentioned, Destiny Image has taken the course and put it on Destiny Image TV. And so they have a website too, which you can, you'll put there in the description, and people can go to either of those sites, Destiny Image or Sprouting with Steve, and they can see all the different, details and reasons to sprout. They can watch videos, and hopefully then they'll take the plunge and become a member and learn how to do this. And I'm just convinced that they'll be glad that they did.
And like we do with every episode, we'll include detailed links in the show notes, places where you can connect with Steve, and places where you can pick up your own copy of the course. It's time to bring this episode of the Shaun Tabatt Show to a close. Many thanks for being a part of my conversation with Steve Wohlberg. Once again, the resource we talked about today was Sprouting with Steve. If you want to find out more, there are two places you can go. You can head over to destinyimage.co/sprouting, or you can also go to sproutingwithsteve.com. And Steve, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing with us today. It's always a joy. It's always an honor to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Shaun. It's my privilege as well. And we'll see you again, I'm sure.